Fret Frenz, episode number 4, Beckology. As you can hear from that first piece that I was doing, there was also a little bit of Jaco technique on the jazz fretless that I was playing in the intro. We'll get into that in another series with bass lessons, but for now, we're just kind of concentrating on guitar stuff. So this is a Jeff Beck technique that I did on this song. This was a song that my wife Diane wrote with her friend Ralph Benatar. I got a bed track of that, and all I did is I approached it with an interpretation of the way maybe Jeff Beck would play Diane's melody. I used a pick on the recording, but I'm going to do the lessons with the fingers because that's really the true technique of what Jeff Beck does. He plays with his fingers. There's quite a few other people that do that. Richie Kotzen's one of them. A lot of country guys, obviously, country chicken picking. Fingers is a really cool technique because, you know, you can get down in here instead of playing it with a pick, which sounds like you can sit there and go. You can really snap it and get a lot of personality with the meat going up against the metal. Let's start out with the first part. I'm just kind of, just kind of doing that kind of stuff. And I'm using the wang bar, so basically you're getting a lot of like a, and I'm using a volume control, so I'm like, that's where you start the note before the volume swell, and then you start doing vibrato as it comes up. Does that make sense? So those are the intro riffs that I did. That's pretty simple. You could just sort of pick notes that are within the diatonic scale. In this case, it's F sharp minor intro. It starts out in F sharp minor, but it's in A minor. How's that? The song is actually in C, if I'm not mistaken. But it's an interesting piece. The first part of the first melody starts out like this. You have to hold your wang bar in your hand when you're doing this stuff. I'm going to use my thumb here, and I'm going to push these notes here. It's going from a G sharp to an A to a dominant 7, which is an E, of the key we're in, which is F. That's our first part. And also I'm kind of using the volume pedal a little bit. I'll swell it up near the end of the note. And then here's another one from the 2 to the minor third to the 5. F sharp. I'm kind of dipping these. When you hold the wang bar in your hand like this, you're actually able to get these nice little moves. Most of the time when you're playing like a guitar vibrato, you're bending it a little sharp and then you're bringing it back. That's going sharp a little bit. And we get that kind of vibrato. What's nice about the Beck technique of holding the wang bar in your hand is that you're taking the pitch and you're going sharp and flat over the pitch. You're going up and down. So it's a little more like a human voice, which is really nice. You can do that with like a Bigsby too. But the best bridges would be what he uses, which is like a typical Stratocaster with a stock tailpiece. There's nothing fancy about it. This is a 1960 reissue. You can use a Floyd Rose, and it'll work, because you can bend up and down with it like that. But there's just something about this old bridge on these old Stratocasters that is real special for the reason that he's probably still using them. I'm not sure what bridge he's using these days, but I've got a feeling it's just like kind of a stock one. But that's what I'm using here today. The first melody, and his technique is that he'll kind of like bend up to the notes. He's always sort of whimsical, a lot of passion and soul, but it's kind of whimsical too. Jeff is always putting a little sarcastic thing on it. That's just his personality, which is what makes him so different than everybody else. It's fun to hear. It's beautiful too. But it's fun, and you got to get playful with it. You could bend up to the first note, like that with the wang bar, and then bend to the last note. So it's almost like a human voice. It's really cool. And then the next part is, that's pretty straight. And then next part. That's a typical Beck thing. That's where he's bending. Now, you could bend that up with a wang bar, but I think he would bend that with his fingers. with the vibrato on the end. So let's go ahead and play along with this, and I'll show you what this is like playing these techniques, okay? So it sounds kind of like this. I'm doing a little... that kind of stuff. Just sound effects in F sharp. Bend up. Wide bend. So now you see how that works. You're basically holding that wang bar and you're using the volume control maybe. You don't have to. You could just use the wang bar, play the notes, do the human voice vibrato. It's very simple. It's just using a wang bar that you hold in your hand all the time rather than doing your typical vibrato, which should only be sharp. Now we got the back and forth. That's basically what I did on this song. Now the solo is an interesting section because I had to figure out how to put some blues into it and then also some classical stuff. So let's go to the solo real quick. Okay, so here it is the way it was recorded. Okay, so as you can see, it takes me a while to learn my own solo because sometimes when I'm inspiration, I'm just kind of doing my thing. But that's the technique of what I was doing there, and that was with a pick. So on the solo, I end with this line. I go to the major minor seventh there, so it's a harmonic minor note at that point. You could go, that would be melodic minor, but this sounds a little hipper. It sounds a little more classical. Major seventh, you know, a little more jazzy, I guess. The first riff I come in, we're talking Albert King, man. I'm just right off the bat. I mean, everybody plays that riff, but it gets your attention because, you know, it's something we're used to. And then I just go down to the 5, so that bends up to the 5, down to the octave of the 5. So that's just typical blues. And then I do a run up to the 4 minor, you know, right up the scale. And then I do a... That's all pentatonic C major or D minor Dorian. And then I go to C, and I just do your typical pentatonic major now in C. All the way up the octave. And then I play an F diminished scale. And then I bend right from there to the high D. So it's... And then to C. And then I play some fourths here. As we're getting ready to go to the 4, which is F. So I go in. And then fourths, kind of like Chinese pentatonic major. So I'm doing a passing chord on B flat. And then to the F triad. And I bend that up. a lower version of F. Okay? So the whole solo is this. Bend up with the wang bar. And then I end with the melody. So let me play along with that now. It sounds like this. Like that. But for me, because I don't just exclusively play with my fingers, I needed to go to the pick to do the solo I did on the recording you heard. It's just something you should experiment with. See which works best for you. So those are all kinds of cool tones with the fingers. But the pick, if you're used to playing with it and it was something you learned playing with at first, like myself, for the faster stuff, like when I did that diminished run, the pick just is better for me. That was easier for me to do with the pick. Do what's best for you. So anyway, thanks a lot for joining us for this episode. This is a beautiful song. I'll play it all in its entirety right now. I'm getting ready to launch my Fret Frenz Masterclass series. If you'd like to take lessons on that series, it'll be up and running in about, I'd say about 3-4 weeks. And I'll send out a notice for everyone to come on board. And that'll be a website you'll go to. You'll pay a subscription membership. I'll just have all kinds of lessons on there for you, all kinds of techniques. So anyway, this was just a freebie that I put together for a 4th episode on the web channel Fret Frenz for everyone to enjoy. So if you want to take those lessons, like I say, we'll send out a notice and I'll advertise on Facebook and Instagram and put it up on YouTube. We'll have 1-month memberships and we'll also have year subscriptions. All right, thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the next one.